welcome to the Total Country Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Total Country Podcast. My name's Kevin Angel and thanks for joining me this week. My artist this week is 2018 BCMA Female Vocalist of the Year, Jade Helliwell. If you've not heard Jade's music before, she produces a mix of diva-driven ballads and sassy banjo-laden pop country hits that are all incredibly sing-song worthy. Jade released her debut EP, Forget the Night, in 2016. Jade was making waves on the UK country scene when in May 2017 she went viral after a video of her was uploaded to YouTube performing the Leonard Cohen classic Hallelujah with a busker on the streets of Leeds. This video was an instant hit overnight and to this date it's got over 30 million views on YouTube. From this video's success, her EP re-entered the UK country charts and went in at number 1. In 2018 she released her next EP, Infatuation. Her single Drive went on to receive great critical acclaim. That same year she won the BCMA for Best Single for her song Boomtic. She also won Best Female Vocalist that year. Move forward and in 2019 Jade released the country power ballad that is Storm Chaser, a track that was added to the Hot Country playlist on Spotify, which was followed up by the equally powerful Stay. Jade is no stranger to touring and the festival scene, being a regular at Buckle and Boots Festival, Country on the Clyde, and last year she played her first ever Country to Country in London after finishing a tour of Australia with some of the finest UK country acts just weeks before. This year she has already played Country on the Clyde and has released her first single this year, The Moment, which is out now. She's scheduled to tour the UK later this year with Nashville-based artist Caitlin Baker as they embark on what they've dubbed the Girl Country Tour. So here we go, my conversation with Jade Helliwell. During this quarantine lockdown situation, Jade has been spending her time live streaming performances on social media on her own pages, whilst also featuring on pages such as Buckle and Boots Country Festival. I started by asking Jade if she thought this was good for growing her fan base.
Yeah, definitely. I think we have like some regulars tune in each week, but we're seeing new people there. And a really good tool with it is that you can share it onto your page. So you might find people share it and then someone on their Facebook who's never heard of us before tunes in and then like the music come along to the page and then they'll come tune into the one the following week. So yeah, it's a really useful tool.
Perfect. At the end of May, you're doing a live stream in conjunction with the music community Benumu and Spirit Brand Jägermeister.
Yeah.
That must be great for you, not only in terms of sort of brand alignment, but from a UK country scene perspective. Obviously, you're promoting country to a wider audience being on that platform. Talk to me how about that came about.
Yeah, I mean, we're really looking forward to that. As you mentioned, it's like two different brands partnering up. So I came across it a couple of weeks ago. They reached out and asked if we'd be interested in doing one of the slots that they were setting up. So we sent all the information through and then they got in touch with like a date for us. So we've a couple of weeks to wait, but we're really excited to be able to, like you mentioned, get like country music onto a different platform. And there might not necessarily be a genre that is covered that often on like the Jägermeister channels and things like that. So we're looking forward to it, and we get to take a shot of Jäger. So
yes.
But,
are you planning to? Because I know you do a lot of cover stuff. Are you planning to push your own music on that platform or do a mix? Or
yeah, I mean, I love to sing covers, a lot of my favourite stuff. But I think given that it is a different platform to sort of promote UK country and what I'm doing with my music, it'll be just my own music that I'll be playing on that one. See what people think.
So let's go back a few years. For those who don't know your music or don't know how much about where you got to where you are today, you got a lot of attention after, I mean, is gate crashing the right word? A busker's performance on a night out in Leeds?
Yeah, that's so weird. That's actually like this weekend will be like the third year, like 3 years since that happened. Yeah. Yeah. So I was sort of making ins, I think, in the scene around that year. I just won the Yamaha Hoedown to perform at C2C Festival, and was starting up like a endorsement with them, and I've been booked to play Buckle and Boots and a couple other country gigs, and was sort of getting my name out there. I'd released an EP in the October, and then when that happened, it just sort of boosted my social media following really, and a lot of people who hadn't heard of me came onto my page and started to listen to what I was putting out there. So it definitely helped. And from there, then it was just, I think, an extra little boost into the scene, and I managed to get onto more festivals and things like that. So it was helpful to have a bit of a boost on social media, I think, and have people
30 million views boost.
Yeah. Yeah. Look more than a little
you could be
boost.
modest. Was that at the point you decided to go full time in music?
Yeah, I was working as a teacher assistant at the time in a primary school, and I'd been debating sort of packing in the job and doing music full time. But that was, I guess, the final push to show that like there was a fan base there and there was opportunity to keep gigging and keep busy. So that was like the final thing that sort of made me take the jump as it was coming up to the end of the school year. So I left like the weekend of Buckle and Boots Festival. So
wow,
it was a good way to kick off.
Big move there.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. But luckily, even given the current situation, I haven't regretted it yet.
Good. Did you know the person that was filming the video? Or
yeah, it was my friend, because we were out for one of my other friends' birthdays.
Yeah.
So we were sort of making his way across Leeds, like from one end of town to the other. But I mean, to be honest, we were taking a detour because I wanted a McDonald's. So it was on the detour.
So listening to your music, it sounds like you've got a wide range of influences. Would I be correct in assuming that you draw from a broad pool of inspiration and that country is just one of many styles you love?
Yeah, I sort of like got into country really quite late on. Like my mum used to listen to like Shania Twain and stuff like that, but I don't come from a family that's like big into country.
Yeah.
And then I got into Taylor Swift's music when she released her first album. And then from there, like, really got into like Carrie Underwood and Kelly Pickler, Lady Antebellum, like the modern style that was coming through. So that was around the same time that I started writing my own music. So I think it just naturally influenced like the way I wrote, and the way I sing is naturally quite country. So I do draw from that, but then I do listen to a lot of pop music as well. So I have some pop influence in there. I love like the divas like Celine Dion and Mariah Carey, Whitney Houston. So I think like the big vocal influence comes from that sort of music as well. So it is a bit of a mixed pot.
Have you got anything in your collection that's maybe slightly we wouldn't expect to find, or what's a guilty pleasure for you?
I'm so weird. Like my Spotify playlist ranges from like out and out pop music to like my favorite musical tracks. It depends where I'm going. Like if I'm going on a night out with my friends, then I'll accept like they love like house music, which I say I'm not really into, but then once you've got a drink and it's on, I quite enjoy it. But I necessarily wouldn't listen to it in my own time.
So whatever music sets the mood then? Yeah,
depends where I'm headed.
So your new single it's out now, so it's called The Moment. I love it. Big fan of a Jade Helliwell ballad.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You co-wrote this one with Katie Ray, who's previously written with the likes of Jess Tristan and the Shires. So talk to me about that song and how it came to be.
Yeah, I mean, we wrote this song like 18 months ago, like quite a while ago.
Oh, okay.
I was down in London doing a couple of writing sessions, and I had this one in with Katie. And when I got there, we were just sort of having a chat like you do before we start the session.
Yeah.
And what we're going to write about. And then she said she'd had this idea of like missing like the moment to make a move with somebody. And we were sort of bouncing back and forth stories that could relate to it. And then we started writing this one on the guitar, and then Katie sort of switched to the piano and wrote it on there. And they were like, oh, yeah, we slow it down. It is a ballad. And I think it's something that people can relate to. Like I definitely myself, drew from personal experience of thinking I'd missed the moment.
Yeah.
Thinking like regretting it afterwards and thinking, oh, maybe it was down to me to make a move. So I think it is something that people, well, hopefully they will relate to.
So when it comes to songwriting, do you have a standard writing style, or like are you someone that sits down and thinks I need to write a song, or does it have to be quite organic?
If I'm writing just myself, like just by myself, it's normally just quite organic. Like just if I get the urge to write a song and I've got the time to do so, then I'll sit down and write. But if I'm in a co-write, then normally I will like go into that write with a couple different ideas. And then just see if any of those are something that when you bounce between yourselves, like they pick up on as well. And if not, then normally we just have a chat and something will come up and we'll think, oh, let's write about that.
Because you've been quite busy with the virtual co-writes recently, haven't you?
Yeah, it's been really good. I mean, when I was doing my first one, I didn't really know how it'd go and if it'd be a bit strange, but I've adapted quite well. So I do a couple a week. I've got some in this week. Yeah, they work great. So
in what way are they different? Is it just the fact that you're not there with them?
Yeah, just like normally when you're in a room with somebody, like there's you'll vibe ideas back and forth and things like that, like on different instruments and a bit of a chat, and it's really relaxed. Whereas it's a little bit more formal, sort of sat with a computer. But I found it has still worked pretty well. Most of the people I've written with are people I've written with before as well so far. So I don't know if that makes it a little bit more relaxed.
Yeah,
we'll see. We'll see when I do one with someone I've never written with before.
See what comes out of it. Obviously, because it has to be quite an honest experience, doesn't it? So so you've got to bring that barrier down through a screen, which I assume is going to be a little bit more challenging.
Yeah, it is a little bit strange, but once, like normally, I've found so far, once we actually start getting into it, then it's a bit more relaxed. You just have to remember there's a camera on you at all times. You're like zoning into, staring out into space, thinking of something.
So, when you sit down to it, do you write to a certain style, or do you have a certain story you want to tell?
Yeah, I normally have like an idea of a story of like something I want to say, or an idea of like a hook of like a chorus hook or something like that, like what the words would be, and then sort of work backwards from that. It works quite well.
Good. How autobiographical is your stuff? Does it have to be personal to you, or how do you?
I'm a bit of a mix, really. Okay. Some things are really personal, and I'm thinking, yeah, that's about me. But then some things are completely made up. I love storytelling. And I think especially in country music, it's one real key feature, how songs can sort of tell stories. So I like just sort of making up these situations about these characters and then writing songs about them. So some of my music is like completely made up, and some of it is like direct experience from myself. So it's a bit of a mix.
So for me, what I like about some of your songs is you take like a really country pop sounding melody in something like Boomtic or Put It On You. And they're obviously all about female empowerment, which is great, but they are those ones are a bit more sort of maybe forward, is that the way to put it, than most country stuff by women. Was that something intentional? Yeah,
I found this with a couple of my songs. Like it didn't start out to be that like up front, but then it happens. I'm always joking with Jess Tristan, who I write a lot of those style songs with. I'm like, I wish we were as sassy as the women in our songs. In real life, I don't think I'm that forward.
Do you have a favourite song of yours? Is there one that you like are really proud of, or?
It changes all the time. I mean, obviously, I'm going to say this is the one that I've just released, but I do really like the moment. But I think it's what when you're releasing something, that's all you're focusing on at that time. So I'm listening to it, like when we've been mixing it and focusing on the release and the artwork that ties in with it, and so much thought goes into it that I think it just naturally becomes my favourite song of the moment because. See what I did?
Oh, nice.
Because I'm just like focusing on it at that time.
Yeah.
But there are ones then sometimes when I play live, I think, I haven't played that in ages, and I really like that. Actually, I should play it more.
What I really like about going back to the new song actually is if you look at something like Storm Chaser, it's quite a big sort of Carrie Underwood-esque, for want of another comparison, ballad. Whereas this one's quite honed in for you, isn't it? It's more subtle.
Yeah, I mean, given the situation at the moment, the plan was to go into the studio with a different single and, get that out summertime. But then being, on lockdown, I didn't want to just not release anything. And I knew that I liked this as it was, like just as a piano and vocal from the demo. So I thought this was something that it wouldn't take, adding much to it to make it sound like a finished single. So we were a little bit of we think of less is more really with this one. So that's why it's not as sort of, like you say, like Carrie Underwood-esque as Storm Chaser, but a bit more of a step back ballad.
Nice. If you could pick one song throughout the history of music you wish you wrote,